Sexual violence doesn't discriminate. It affects people from all backgrounds, and yes, even the most famous among us. Yet, our society still tends to blame the victims, urging them to stay quiet, to move on, to carry the shame in silence. But some voices refuse to be silenced. In this piece, we talk about celebrities who lived through abuse and found the strength to speak up, not just for themselves, but for all survivors who are still struggling to be heard. Teri Hatcher. The Desperate Housewives star went through hell as a child. From the ages of 5 to 8, Teri Hatcher was repeatedly raped by her uncle, Richard Hayes Stone. She blamed herself and kept the abuse secret for years. It wasn't until 2002, when 14-year-old Sarah, Teri's neighbor, took her own life after being raped by the same man, that Teri broke her silence. She went public with her story and testified against him, determined to make sure he never hurt anyone again. Thanks to her courage, Richard was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Today, Teri is an active advocate for survivors of sexual assault, urging them not to hide their pain and not to carry the burden of silence. Madonna. In her very first year in New York City, Madonna, then a 19-year-old newcomer, was raped by a stranger in her building. He held a knife to her and assaulted her in the stairwell. She wanted to report the crime, but the process of speaking to police and undergoing the medical exam felt deeply humiliating, so she chose to stay silent and buried the trauma deep inside. Years later, in 2015, Madonna finally shared her story in Harper's Bazaar. The confession shocked her fans. Some supported her, others accused her of using the story to promote her new album, Rebel Heart. But for Madonna, it wasn't about publicity. It was about finally reclaiming her voice. Oprah Winfrey. One of the most powerful women in America came from a childhood filled with pain. At age 9, Oprah was raped by her cousin. Over the next 4 years, she was repeatedly abused by a family friend, by her uncle, and by the same cousin. At 13, she became pregnant. Her mother sent her away to live with her father. The baby died shortly after birth. Her father told her she was being given a second chance at life. Years later, Oprah shared her story during a powerful episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show. Her honesty moved millions and gave countless survivors the courage to tell their own truths. Marilyn Monroe. In 1953, Marilyn Monroe became one of the first celebrities to publicly talk about surviving sexual violence. She revealed that when she was just 9 years old, living with a foster family under Grace McKee, she was raped by an adult man. The trauma was devastating. She began stuttering and suffered emotionally for years. But society wasn't ready to accept this darker side of her life. Many dismissed her story, saying the details were too vague. Some even accused her of making it up. Still, Marilyn's courage to speak out paved the way for others. Tim Roth. Actor Tim Roth opened up in 2009, shortly after releasing his directorial debut, The War Zone, a film about incest and family abuse. He revealed that he had been sexually abused as a child, not by his parents, but by another relative. Tim said he refused to view himself as a victim. He chose to see himself as someone who endured and survived. He waited many years to tell his story, needing the right time and the right project. The War Zone helped him confront his past, and he's proud that the film is now used in education to raise awareness about abuse and trauma. Queen Latifah. It's hard to believe that someone as confident and joyful as Queen Latifah once carried a secret so heavy. Before she even turned 10, she was raped by a teenage boy hired to babysit her. For nearly 30 years, she kept the trauma to herself. In 2009, she finally opened up. Latifah admitted that shame and self-blame kept her silent. She didn't even tell her parents. Now, she says she wishes she had spoken out sooner and brought her abuser to justice. The assault left deep emotional scars. Even today, she struggles with trust and with building healthy relationships. Shia LaBeouf. On Valentine's Day, 2014, actor Shia LaBeouf became a victim of sexual assault during an art installation called I Am Sorry. As part of the piece, he sat in a small room, silent, wearing a paper bag that read, "I'm not famous anymore." He wasn't allowed to respond to visitors, no matter what they did. One woman entered, attacked him physically, stripped him, and raped him. The people running the project intervened only after realizing what had happened, but the woman escaped. Shia revealed the incident in November of that year. Reactions were mixed. Some sympathized deeply. Others accused him of making it up or doing it for attention. Lady Gaga. In 2014, Lady Gaga stunned the world when she revealed she had been raped at age 19 by a music producer nearly twice her age. For years, she was in denial. She blamed herself and kept the pain hidden. A decade later, she poured her trauma into the powerful song, "Till It Happens to You," the theme for the documentary The Hunting Ground, about sexual violence on college campuses. At the premiere, Gaga admitted the assault changed her forever, but she had fought to reclaim her life. The song was nominated for an Oscar, and her performance at the 2016 Academy Awards received a standing ovation. Tori Amos. Singer and pianist Tori Amos was raped at 21 by a fan she gave a ride home after a concert. He pulled a gun on her and assaulted her in her own car. She kept the trauma to herself for years, overwhelmed with guilt and shame. But 6 years later, she found the courage to write "Me and a Gun," a brutally honest song about that night. The song became an anthem for survivors across the world. Tori credits the support of her husband and the organization RAIN for helping her heal. But even now, she admits she struggles with trust. The trauma still echoes in her relationships. These stories are more than painful memories. They are acts of resistance. They remind us that sexual violence can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter how rich, famous, or powerful you are, it leaves a mark that can last a lifetime. But silence is not the answer. The courage to speak up is how we break the cycle. These celebrities used their voices not just to reclaim their lives, but to lift others up. So, to anyone listening, you are not alone. You are not to blame. You deserve to be heard, and your story matters.